Hi, Rita. Hi, Geneva.
Hi, Geneva. Hi, Becky. Now I have my sound on.
Yeah, your sound is working. Very good. Ah,
Hi. Hi, kids.
Hello, Eric.
What's happening?
Geneva,
Jen.
how's your son?
He's okay, I think. I'm not really sure,
Yeah,
but it's bad.
yeah. Hey, all right. Well, just, if you have to leave, please leave.
I will. I'll text Becky. Thank you.
Okay.
hang in there.
This will only be a 15-minute meeting, right?
Yeah, right, Eric. Dream on.
I did see Melissa. She should be here. There she is.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Melissa.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Is there any echo? Because I'm using a funky table. Is there any echo?
Don't hear any.
Oh, good.
Okay, well, it's 5:31, so why don't we go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Today is Tuesday, May 23rd, and this is a meeting of the Shutesbury Selectboard that is being held via Zoom. And as usual, I will go through the agenda first, and then we'll launch into the meeting. So start off, we have public comment, then we'll be reviewing minutes of April 26th, correct?
They're actually the 25th.
The
25th, actually.
Okay,
I apologize. We got it corrected on the last agenda, but not.
okay. All right, I got it corrected. Then I don't believe we have a part-time police officer appointment. Is that correct?
Correct. That's being postponed so that we get additional information that was requested.
Okay, but in that time slot, we just want to talk about responding to a recent
Police issue.
this issue. Okay. Then we have an appointment of the administrative assessor. We have appointments of library substitutes. Then the Board of Health district agreement. We're going to be discussing a public records law policy for the town. Use of legal funds policy. I think we'll just talk about, but we're not adopting any policy tonight. Is that correct? Yeah. But just we need to talk about what kind of policy we need to develop. Then we will have Jeffrey Arps from Ty and Bond here to talk about. So Ty and Bond is our consultant on the PFAS contamination at the fire station and beyond. And Jeffrey will be talking to us about that tonight. Then we have the final review of the budget, the annual town meeting warrant, and just discussing any last minute details, plans for annual town meeting. Because this is a really long meeting, we're going to take a 10-minute break so everybody can get up and stretch and get ready for the second half of the meeting, which 7 o'clock we'll be meeting an executive session. And then going back to open session. So the first executive session is about a complaint that we've received from Coles. We're going back into open session, then we will go back into executive session at 7:20. I'm just trying to make sure all this timing is right. 7:20 with the planning board joining us and the same issue, as we'll be talking about at 7 o'clock. And then we have to return to open session again, and then go into a new executive session for reason number 3, to discuss litigation complaint received from Michael Hootstein. And I guess after that, we'll determine whether or not we're going to go back into open session again.
Or
Okay,
you can vote when you go into the last one, not to return to open session.
okay, all right. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is public comment, and as usual, I ask
Table.
that if you have a public comment, that you please use the raised hand feature, and to limit your comments to 2 to 3 minutes. So do we have any public comments this evening? Okay, so hearing none, why don't we go ahead and review the minutes of April 25th, 2023.
All right, I'll make a motion so we can talk about them to approve the minutes of April 20, what did you say?
25th,
25th, 2023.
yeah, 2023.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Do we have any additions, deletions? Those April
I was okay.
20 I'm good.
Yeah, they look good. They look good to me. And maybe we'll talk about it later, but I was just a little, what is the work site? I'm not sure what the status of the work site policy is. and that
We're not doing that right now.
Okay, okay.
We'll do that at a future meeting. Okay, so motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of April 25th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker eye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, so the next item is we're not doing the police appointment, but Becky, maybe if you can just tell us about the recent incident with the state police and the Lever police, and kind of what Kristen suggested the select board do as a follow-up.
Yeah, I think so a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, I started noticing state troopers in unusual numbers, and mentioned it to the town. Looked out the window and there was a group of staties at the post office. Grace said, wow, there was like a whole staging of them at the cemetery too. I wonder what's going on. I reached out to Kristen, who was unaware of why they would be in Shutesbury. So she reached out and learned that it was a Leverett operation. It was a training exercise with the state police, and it was they ended up the state police decided to do the training starting in Shutesbury and then going to the area around Dudleyville Pond, where a year ago, about or a year and a half, Mr. Drury, I believe, disappeared in Leverett, never to be found. So I think it was mentioned they had some new equipment that they were testing out, learning how to use. But for Shutesbury, the issue was the lack of communication from the Leverett police chief. And it's really a basic courtesy between chiefs that if you're going to be active in another community or town or jurisdiction, that you inform the other chief. So Kristen would like the select board to reach out and just reinforce the idea of communication by the Leverett police chief to the Shutesbury police chief, because it wasn't the first time it occurred, and she was concerned that it might happen again. So we needed to underscore the importance of communication. And the hope is by directing this to the select board, that may happen.
So a
Um,
letter would come from this select board to the Leverett Select Board.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you had drafted something that probably needs a little bit of editing, but it's basically addressing what you just mentioned, Becky, and that is that it's just good practice.
practice.
It's common sense that if one police department is doing something in another police department, in another community, that they notify the police in advance, because I assume this was not a last minute. There wasn't a decision. This was planned in advance, this
It
exercise.
does take planning. I think starting directly in Shutesbury might have been more at the last minute, but even so, there's communication available. All sorts of means between texting and emailing and
Well,
cell
central
phones and
dispatch even.
radios and dispatch. There are multiple ways at any point in time to reach out and make this communication. And we just want assurance from the Leverett Select Board that this will happen in the future.
Eric, do you have any questions? Or Melissa?
Just do we have any idea why they acted so, well, I guess, what's the word? Do we know why, I won't put a word on it, but you know what I'm talking about. Do we have any idea why this happened?
I would speculate, but I would not state my speculation here.
Okay.
Ditto.
No, I think it's a great idea to write a letter, because it is just wrong. What happened, as far as I'm concerned, is just wrong.
Yeah.
Impolite and everything else. For every other reason, it's just wrong.
Yeah, that day on Wendell Road, there were probably, I don't know, there were 3 or 4 there were a couple of unmarked cars and then 2 state police cars.
Yeah.
Becky, did they claim that they just decided at that day that they were going to come to Shutesbury?
I believe, so when, my understanding is that when the state police decided to go to Shutesbury, they asked the Leverett chief to inform Shutesbury
But when was that decision made?
in the morning at before 10 o'clock, around 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. So it wasn't like a week in advance that they had this planned
Well, they planned the overall event
exercise.
about
Yeah,
10 days prior.
I see. Okay.
But, and yeah, it's just unfortunate he didn't pursue the contact with our chief. It was not, he did inform dispatch. But the correct way would have been to inform Shutesbury, not just dispatch.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that-
I had a couple of people ask me about it. Just, well, you're on the select board. You must know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, there's so many state police in town. Mhm.
All right. All right.
Okay, well, I know you've started a draft of a letter, and if Melissa and Eric, if you're okay, what I'd like is for you to authorize me to sign a letter to the Leverett Select Board, just indicating our concern about not being formally notified, directly notified that this was happening in town. Is that?
Sure, I would do that. I would only ask whether it made any sense for all of us to sign it, just because does that do anything for us? Make it sort of seem a little more whatever.
Yeah, it
More
might if y'all three
concerned.
sign it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we
But
could do that.
certainly, yeah, certainly
Sure.
if you want to take the lead on it, then
No,
I'll sign it.
I'm great. So we'll just, we'll have Becky prepare the letter, and I'll do any additional editing, and then for all 3 of our signatures.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if
Do
we could
do we
put
know
it,
then that would be ready? So just so I could, so we knew when to show up and sign it.
Do we
Or do
say
you want to-
Thursday? Becky, is Thursday
Sure.
good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
and if we could get it all on one page, because there's a lot of headspace up there on the
Yeah.
draft I'm looking at.
Okay,
It would have more impact if it was one
yes,
page.
yeah, I agree. It's hard with the signatures, but I think it can be edited down some.
Right.
Okay. We can do that. So I'll work on that tomorrow. Okay, anything else, Becky, that with regard to that letter?
No, thank you for your help.
Okay. All right, I'm trying to keep, we're right on time, which is great. So we have the appointment of an administrative assessor. And I know you sent us the paperwork, Becky, if you want to just talk about kind of David Burgess and what he's going to be doing and whether or not there's any personnel committee action that has to take place.
Well, David Burgess is a known quantity in Shutesbury because about 30 some years ago, he was the Shutesbury administrative assessor before his career took him to Amherst. He's been in Amherst for about 30 years as their head assessor. He has made, he does have an excellent reputation statewide for his work. He has been coming in and helping us out. You all are aware of our difficulty in finding a new assessor. And we kept looking and looking, but finally a couple of weeks ago, David agreed that he would be willing to take on a weekly commitment and become our administrative assessor after so appointed, working 20 hours per month, which is quite a bit more than he's been, significantly more than he has been doing in the past. And he's working with Leslie, who has been also putting in extra hours to make everything work. But going forward at 20 hours a month for an amount that is very similar in hourly wage that we were paying our assessor that disappeared. So it more than fits into our budget. We will also, in conjunction, be the assessor. We will be bringing on Roy Bishop, who is the assessor who helped us through the reval last year. He will do a number of tasks. There will likely be, to do with reval, similar to what he did last year. And then David will take on the majority of the other responsibilities. So between the two of them, we are very thrilled to be in very competent hands. And Leslie is sleeping much better, knowing that we have a situation that will continue forward, and we are out of our limbo condition that we've been in for a long time.
Eric or Melissa, any questions or comments?
Sounds like good news to me that we've got
Yeah,
this problem
definitely.
solved.
Yeah. Becky, did the personnel committee have to make any changes in the?
What I haven't done yet is get them to verify the reduction in hours for that position. But I don't think should hold up the final appointment. Yes, administrative assessor. What we'll need to do is, because I think the hours were 20 hours a week, and those will be reduced to 20 hours a month for his time, while he's in this position. And that's what it'll be, a second job description, because we can't anticipate the future. I think it's because of his extensive skill levels that we are able to do it in the shorter time frame, and his years of experience are making this possible, along with Leslie's change in hours. So her job description will also have to be adjusted to increase hours.
And then Roy Bishop comes on as a consultant, or?
He's
And
a
how many-
school consultant, so that's just a flat fee of $5,000.
For a year?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have a sense of how permanent a solution this is? I mean, is this Band-Aids on things and a good Band-Aids? Or is
We-
it, do we
I
know?
think
I'm sure we don't know
we
that
should
either.
be- David's just moving into his retirement, and is willing to make us a part of his new way of living in his retirement. So as long as that continues, we will be in the situation.
Good, that's good. That ought to work.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so do I hear a motion to appoint David Burgess as the town of Shutesbury's administrative assessor?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, now we have two library substitutes to appoint.
Mhm.
I know one was Beth Dichter. I didn't write down the other name. I apologize if you could just give us.
Linda. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to go to my email.
Okay,
I know it's Linda, and she's
Linda Chatfield.
beautiful. Thank you.
so I assume these are, it's built into the budget, is that correct? And they just fill
Oh,
in
yes.
the
Yes.
librarian or the assistant is
Yeah,
unable to.
They will be relieving people. I mean, they will be filling in when people are on vacations or if they get sick.
Okay,
They really are substitutes for the regular staff.
okay. So why don't we take them one at a time? It's Linda Chatfield, is that
Yeah.
correct? So do I hear a motion to appoint Linda Chatfield as a library substitute?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Any questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. And do I hear a motion to appoint Beth Dichter as a library substitute?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion?
Mhm.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the Board of Health District Agreement, and I see we have Arlene Reed and Noreen Pease both here this evening from the Board of Health. I'm not sure which one of you wants to take the lead in just letting us know about the agreement and what you need from the select board.
I'll take the lead if you'd like, Arlene. Hi,
Yes,
Noreen
please.
Pease. Noreen Pease from the Board of Health, and I'm also our representative to the Valley Collaborative, the Valley Health Collaborative, which is also the Public Health Excellence Grant funded by the state of Massachusetts. There are 6 towns in the grant: Greenfield, Montague, Deerfield, Sunderland, Leverett, and Shutesbury. And what we are here tonight is to ask you to review the memorandum. It's a municipal memorandum of agreement, which has been reviewed by council in all of the towns in the city of Greenfield. And it has also been reviewed by the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards and fine-tuned over the years, since there are many other towns that have been participating in these cooperative agreements now for a series of years. There is absolutely no money involved on behalf of the town. All the money comes from the state. We have been operating now as a group during this fiscal year. And the state has funded us almost $300,000 for this fiscal year. And we have been awarded another $190,000 for next year since we have met all of our deliverables. And the state seems to be happy with what we're doing. And basically so far this year, we've been able to hire a shared services coordinator for the grant, 1.5 public health nurses, and an additional health agent. And what has that done for us so far? And maybe Arlene wants to speak to this, but Arlene has been doing woman's volunteer work for us, following Maven and tracking all kinds of communicable diseases and COVID for us during COVID. And now we actually are going to let Arlene take vacations once in a while and be back up and look at Maven when she wants to help us out. We have a public health nurse from Greenfield, who is doing that, a professional public health nurse. And it's been working out very well, and she's been extremely responsive. And I probably took all your thunder, Arlene, but you might have more to say about that. Maybe you want to talk about, we have also hired for Leverett and Shutesbury, haven't had a public health nurse for years now. So Arlene was involved in the hiring process, and we've gotten a terrific public health nurse who, assuming you are willing to sign this agreement on behalf of the town of Shutesbury, would be starting soon, like early in June. And her name is Sarah Fisk. So I'll stop there. We have all kinds of other ideas, what we'd like to do with this group as we grow it, but those are the basics.
Becky?
Noreen?
Yes.
Is this, I'm sorry for confusion on this issue, but it's been a little confusing. Is this the Valley Health Regional Collaborative Intermunicipal Agreement?
It is indeed, yes.
Okay. So,
And I believe everyone's had the opportunity to take a look at it, review it, as I said, as far as I know, all of the attorneys in the towns have had a chance to review it. The Board of Health has had a chance to review it and has endorsed it. And in order to officially join the collaborative, we must have the signature of both the chair of the select board and the chair of the Board of Health.
Noreen, would you, I'm gonna put it online. Would you be willing to go through it? I think we had received a similar agreement a couple months ago, and then the final version, the select board has not reviewed, I don't believe. So it'd be helpful if you could go through it with them.
Oh boy, okay. I have it on my phone, so.
I can put
Arlene,
it
do you
on
have it? Do you
screen.
have it on your computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could, that would be helpful if you could.
Can you all see that?
Yes.
Mhm.
And I would just add that I believe, Noreen, that when you take a look at the signature pages for each town, it asks for a signature of the majority of each town's select board, not just the chair of the select board.
Okay,
So-
that could be correct. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe that's, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, there's the signature page, and this being a majority of the members.
Okay, I see.
So we've already seen this basic agreement. Has it changed? I mean, what, haven't we already seen? I think we've
yeah.
seen something.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's changed. I mean,
Oh, okay.
there's a lot to read through here, but I did
It
not pick
wasn't-
up on any changes.
Right, it
Sorry.
wasn't final when came to you before,
Okay,
but I don't, like they said, there haven't been changes to it at this point.
Most of the changes came from attorneys for the towns and for the city of Greenfield, and also attorneys at the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards, which have been working over the years, as I said, to try and tighten up these agreements and make sure that it covers everybody's concerns with regard to liability and how the relationships play out during the terms of the agreement, et cetera. So I feel like it's been well vetted.
okay.
Can you, Arlene or Noreen, just give us a really quick synopsis or some examples of how the public health nurse, is it something like individuals access through the Board of Health, or is it more kind of broader initiatives?
This person will actually be coming to town several hours a week. We're hopeful to set up an office down in the basement of Town Hall. She'll have access to a computer, and she may be doing everything. I'm going to describe it from my public health service, from womb to tomb. She might be talking to young mothers about issues that they are having with their newborns or concerns that they have, with their babies or with their other children. She might be talking about immunization. She might be working on diabetes prevention, chronic disease prevention. She might be reaching out to elders in the community. It may be when it comes time, let's say in the fall, for additional COVID vaccinations. If people are homebound and unable to get to a site in the local area, that she can help arrange for that immunization to take place in the home. Arlene?
She may be able to do blood pressure checks,
Mhm.
foot care for people who, especially who have compromised conditions compromising their circulation. And as Noreen has described, the spectrum of health-related counseling. She has a background in emergency medicine and seemed to me to have a great grasp on mental health issues as well. So if there are concerns around people in mental health, I won't go so far as to say mental health crisis, but she has the resources to at least call in other services when there are issues around, and to work with the police, for instance, around issues of domestic violence or other unsafe safety situations in a household.
That's great. And so
Yeah.
this would be communicated to folks in town? her
Yeah, and
availability?
our board is responsible for communicating with the town about available services, as well as data collection around the outcomes and reporting to the Valley Health Coalition about the health outcomes.
Right.
And I should add to that, I am on the Valley Health Coalition's steering committee representing the town of Shutesbury, and we meet on a monthly basis. And it's been a wonderfully cooperative group, and it's actually been fun to set up this new program for our 6 towns.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So Melissa, first, Becky, 1 second. I'm just going to ask Melissa or Eric if they have any questions or comments for Arlene or Noreen.
I do not have any questions.
No, I don't have any questions. I think, again, great news. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Becky, go ahead.
I just want to mention to the Board of Health, we're going to have to work to set up a place for this person to have an appointment with anybody. We're going to have to sit down and brainstorm how to get that done. It's not an obvious solution. So,
Okay.
The Council on Aging used to do the foot care things. They may have some solutions, some suggestions to be able to meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Kat thought that the room down there might be usable, but yes, absolutely, Becky. And we will contact you to work on that. And we have a little bit of equipment that will be coming in as well for the public health nurse.
yeah, we'll need to figure out how to make it work.
Oh, and just one other thing, well, she will need access to water.
To what?
Access to water.
Access to water.
Okay. Becky, can you just scroll, or whoever is
Yeah, yeah,
scrolling up
sorry.
back to the first page? I want to make sure we get this right. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the Valley Health Regional Collaborative Intermunicipal Agreement for the Public Health Excellence for Shared Services Grant?
So moved.
Mouthful.
Second,
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. So we will all sign this then.
Thank you very much, and I'll convey that news to the collaborative Thursday morning when we meet.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to discuss the public records law policy, and I see Grace is here with us this evening. So Grace, I know that we've had a public records law policy in place and you have updated it.
So we actually, the select board never voted on it.
Mhm.
When the new law was passed in 2016, the state sent out a template of the policy towns should adopt. We put our contact info in and filed it. The select board never voted on it. So part of the problem I have run into repeatedly is we've been following these same procedures since 2016, but we don't actually have them written down anywhere that everyone can go and look at. And it's never been approved by the select board. So what I am asking is that I made a few edits to sort of try to tighten things up and make things a little more specific to Shutesbury. But mostly all I'm asking is for the select board to vote to approve the policy that we've been relying on since 2016.
Okay, thank you. I know we all received that. So Melissa and Eric, do you have any questions or comments about the policy as drafted?
No, it looked good to me from what I read.
Yeah.
The multiple copies. The last copy looked good.
Well, yeah, I know you put some had to tweak it some. So Grace, just from my information, in other communities, this is what's been done in the past, is that there's been a policy that's formally adopted. Is that correct?
Yes.
The guidance comes, the sort of template is from the state law that was passed in 2017, was it?
Yeah, it went into effect January of 2017. When I was doing my research, what I saw was that in the 2016 all boards meeting in October of 2016, there was Susie did a big presentation about the new public records law, and her responsibilities as a record access officer, which I think that was important for me to see, because it did show, all right, so the law had been passed that summer, we were getting ready, we were starting to do it. I think that I don't know, when I was reading through the minutes, I didn't see, like, there wasn't really any discussion. There were updates from Susie. The new law has been passed. This is what I've been learning about it, but there wasn't really any discussion about all the new responsibility that the role creates and that the new law created and all the procedures you have to follow. And I think that's just because at the time the law was brand new, so people hadn't figured out all the ways it ends up affecting us yet.
Okay. So questions? Michael, I see your hand up.
I was just gonna, I mean, Becky was there too, but I was just gonna support what Grace said. As best I can remember, I do remember we had an all boards and Susie presented to whoever was there. I don't remember the select board adopting a policy officially. So when she pointed it out to me, it was like, oh yeah, I think you're right about that one.
Were you on the board then?
Yeah, yeah.
I think the intention was there. I think other things popped in, right? As they do with the select board.
And I assume once we adopt a policy that this would be disseminated then to all. I mean, it's more typical that that requests come from the outside, right? So
Yes,
we have-
but everyone in town government, we're all members of the public too. We all have the same right to submit a public records request. So it's really important that we treat all something that I always remind people of, and I always remind myself of, is that when you are responding to a public records request, you have an obligation to be sort of content neutral in a way. That might not be the right term that I'm using, but it doesn't matter who is asking. It doesn't matter what their motivation is or what their identity is. The only limited exception is that if it seems really obvious that someone is making this request for a commercial purpose, you can charge them a fee. So you can ask them, is this for a commercial purpose? All right, I'm going to be charging you a fee. But that's it. Other than that, it really doesn't matter. We need to treat all public records requests the same. So yes, I will absolutely be disseminating this policy to all town officials. I will add it to the swearing in packet so that people get a copy when they are sworn in. It'll be available on the town website. And in the next few months, sometime, I would very much like to host a public records law training for everybody. And I would like it if the select board could, I don't know if this is feasible, but maybe make it mandatory that every board and committee have at least one representative so that we can make sure we are giving everybody this information.
I'm not sure we can make it mandatory, but
We can try.
Michael, go ahead. I'll take one more question and then.
Yeah, I was just gonna, when Grace and I were talking about this history, one thing that I pointed out in my experience is some of the stuff is not clear. And so what I recommended to Grace, and I think it's fair to say agreed, is that subsequent to approving a policy, creating some practical guides, one for the public and one for volunteers, because the policy, it's mushy and gray. And so what you really want to do is be able to say, who do I talk to? What do I do? What can I expect? And so if Grace creates that with two audiences, one for the general public and one for volunteers, I think that will probably be even more helpful than the policy, but the policy is the required starting point.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the one of the issues I've run in when I've tried to create those kinds of resources is the lack of policy that I could refer to and be like, all right, I'm not just making this up out of thin air. This is what I'm going back to. So this will give me that baseline to work with.
Okay, great. Thanks, Grace. And if there are no other questions from the select board, do I hear a motion to adopt the public records law policy that we all have in hand?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Grace.
Good job, Grace.
Very much appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Grace.
Okay, so we just want to talk about the use of legal funds, which has been a challenge this fiscal year.
Wow.
Becky, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Okay, so this year has been a barn burning year in some ways. So we have had an experience this year where Donna McNichol had recused herself because of issues. And then we had that she recommended that Concom get a lawyer, and then recommended that the select board get a lawyer to discuss their issues regarding Lotto 32. And we did that, but there's ongoing issues with use of legal funds that, you know, the standing basic policy is that for any committee or department, before they call our town council, that they reach out to the town administrator and, you know, have a conversation about it, making sure there's not another avenue where the information would be readily available without the phone call, but also to help control and monitor the legal expense line. As you all are well aware, we've gone through the line twice now, and likely we'll have to draw upon it more before the end of the fiscal year. So it's the monitoring and control of the account is one issue, but another issue is the jurisdiction of town council, and whether or not, you know, who is privy to the information. When you're sharing a council with a whole town, it's the privilege of the client lawyer privilege is a bit different than when you share information with your private lawyer for a divorce or something like that. So I just want to make sure the policy is very clear for everyone, so we all can be clear on jurisdictional authority. If we bring in a special counsel, what that relationship is to our current attorney, and also to remind people that the privilege is, you know, the select board should be able to ask questions of any attorney working in town, is my general understanding, but I need to flesh that out more. I have found in reaching out to other town administrators, almost no one has a policy. And if they have a policy, it's more about the individual decision of the select board if they want their executive secretary to handle the issue or if they want a town administrator. So I had an offer from DOR finance office that they would work on pulling together a policy for us, which I jumped on. Would love to hear what they have to say. And so we can bring all these resources together and determine the best policy for Shutesbury that keep things simple and clear. And so all the users, all our different department heads or committee chairs can have a clear understanding of what their responsibilities are in the use of legal funds.
Okay, I know we're running up against the next item on the agenda with Jeffrey Arp. So you'll be coming back to us with a draft policy, is that correct?
Yes, I will.
Okay, good, great. Thank you. I think that's really important. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is we have Jeffrey Arps from Ty and Bond with us this evening to give us kind of an update and some background information on the PFAS contamination starting at the fire station and in the center of town. And as everybody maybe remembers, or if you don't, we hired Ty and Bond to do testing, do point of entry systems and installation. Poets is much easier to remember, but so to put actual filters in the houses that had levels of PFAS above the acceptable level, and it's been pretty involved. And so I don't know if you go by Jeff or Jeffrey.
Jeff's fine.
Jeff, we wanted to have you here this evening just to talk about your work and kind of just like looking into the future. What, you know, what recommendations would you bring back to the, you know, or recommend to the select board?
Sure. Okay. everybody. I'm Jeff Arps. I'm a licensed site professional with Ty and Bond. Work out of the Westfield office. I did put together a very brief PowerPoint presentation, if that's okay. I think that would be kind of help
We
me
give you
walk through that.
permission.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna make you a co-host so you can put it up. Or did you want me to put up?
No, I was planning to. If you can give me the okay.
Oh, yeah. Huh, I think you
Yep, there we go.
have it.
All right, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so that's your fire department. So just as a kind of a quick overview, is our understanding anyway, rear of the fire department had been used for fire training with Class B firefighting foam or AFFF. The Mass DEP and UMass had a private well sampling program, and there were some private wells in Shutesbury that tested positive around the fire station. Mass DEP sent the town a notice of responsibility in February 2022. But prior to
I'm
that,
sorry, Jeff, I missed that when I was looking through. It was November 18th. Just,
oh geez,
I apologize. I didn't proofread that.
no, I looked at the letter and read the letter. I just wrote the wrong date. Okay, so it was November 2022. Yeah, the timeline in my head didn't work. Okay. So Mass DEP had come out and done some investigation on the fire station property in the backyard. They had confirmed soil and groundwater contamination in that area. We were hired in December 2022 with me providing LSP of record services. And since then, we've filed an immediate response action plan and a status report, as well as doing sampling around Leverett Road and a couple of the side streets. And currently we are sampling various radii to get with 500 feet of any detection and hopefully develop a map with some, with clean properties around the perimeter. So this is the assessment that CMG Environmental had done for Mass DEP in July and August of 2022. They did have PFAS detected in site soil, those 4 compounds. 13 of the samples had concentrations that exceeded Mass DEP's RCS1 values. So these are values that are just reportable concentrations. They're the same as the soil standards, but at this point, this is just to see, are you in or are you out of the MCP process? And I understand you guys are pretty familiar with the MCP process from your library project. So we did have detections in 13 of those samples. Just for your own peace of mind, Mass DEP also has what they call direct contact standards. These are standards that would be applicable to someone working or playing or, kids, anyone mowing a lawn, whatever, to contact these soils. The standard for that is 300 parts per billion. Water is parts per trillion, soil is parts per billion. But the concentrations were detected in the soil are well below that 300 ppb level. So there's no concern for anyone working back there, walking around back there or whatever. As part of their drilling, they had installed 3 new monitoring wells, and they had sampled those and 3 or 4 of the other wells that were left over from the gasoline release that you had dealt with some years back. So all of those wells had PFAS detected. 4 of the 6 Mass DEP, let me back up. Mass DEP regulates drinking water standards by what they call a PFAS 6. So it's 6 PFAS compounds, and you add those up. And if that's less than 20, you're okay. If they're over 20, then you're not okay. So, 4 of the 6 wells had concentrations that exceeded the RCGW1 and GW1 standard of 20. There are also GW2 and GW3 standards. GW2 is for volatilization into a building that's above the groundwater. PFAS aren't volatile, so there are no GW2 standards for PFAS. GW3 standards are intended to be protective of surface water because all groundwater discharges to surface water eventually. And the concentrations detected were all well below those GW3 standards. This is our radius map. This was updated with data we just got yesterday. So as you can see, each property parcel is color coded. Green means PFAS were not detected. Yellow means PFAS were detected, but less than 20 for PFAS 6. The red means it's over 20, but under 90. And then purple is over 90, which is an imminent hazard. So, so these are the various radii that have been drawn. I think at this point we've sampled everything. With the data we just got yesterday, I haven't had a chance to look at whether we need more radii or not, but
I don't think so. The 2 new tests were non-detects.
not detect. Yeah, so I think we're okay. And this is something else we use for PFAS forensics. So the various PFAS compounds that are detected, we put those into a pie chart so you can kind of see relative, which PFAS are detected where. So you can see the fire station is 42 is right here. And you can see these other 3 across the street. Actually, one of those is from the fire station. So, but they all look similar. We did have a couple of outliers. These dark blue circles are a compound called F53B, and it's what they call a PFAS replacement chemical. What it's doing in Shutesbury, I'm not sure. It's supposedly used in electroplating in China primarily. So they said it is making its way here in different products, but so these houses have only been sampled once. We're going to sample them again, see if this is really here or if this is just some kind of fluke. This was not detected in any of the other houses, and I checked the groundwater data for the DEP study, and they also did not detect in any of the groundwater there. So if it is there, it's it doesn't seem to be related to the AFFF issue. So just kind of ongoing, what we're doing now, as we mentioned, continuing to sample houses in the radii, installing POET systems wherever we have detections. As Becky mentioned, we just had 13 lab reports come in yesterday, and 12 yesterday, 1 today. 11 of them were for POETs. They all tested good, so no detections, no breakthrough, and the 2 new homes, as she mentioned, were non-detect. So far, we've installed 20 POETs on houses less than 20, 3 more on the double vessel systems on houses that are over 20. And so, we're focusing on that because it's a critical exposure pathway, it's a human exposure. So the drinking water wells are our primary concern. But once we feel pretty comfortable, we've got our arms around that, then, we do need to complete the delineation in PFAS in soil and groundwater and surface water. And that's part of the phase 1, phase 2 process. So that is really where we're at. And that was all I had for a slideshow.
Want to take that down, Becky?
I think at the Jeff, do you want to remove the show? Thank you.
There we go. We use Teams a lot more than Zoom. I'm not good at Zoom.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to give Eric and Melissa an opportunity to ask questions of Jeff.
Well, I have the one question I have is there a way to get a copy of that very nice PowerPoint you just presented?
Sure. Yeah, I can give that to Becky. Send that to Becky.
That'd be great.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Put it up on our website. That would be okay, right, Jeff?
Oh yeah. Yep. It's all public info.
Yeah. And I think Gail's here listening to me because she'll hopefully put it up. Thank you, Gail.
So there's been some discussion. We applied for the clean water loan, which I think you guys are helping us put that application together. What do you see as sort of the next steps? Is it just continued monitoring? Is it in your professional opinion, should the town be contemplating some sort of public water system? You know, how,
Too hot. It's good.
you know, how serious is this? And what are our options for addressing it, I guess?
Well, I mean, the biggest hurdle getting, out of the gate is figuring out, how far the contamination is spread, making sure the homes that are impacted have POET systems so that the water they're drinking is safe. And then the water that they're putting into their septic system is also safe. If you're pumping out PFAS and pumping it into your septic system, you're just spreading it around more. So getting POETs on all the wells that are impacted is, priority number one. As I mentioned, we do have to do delineation of soil contamination and groundwater contamination. The private wells tell us one thing, but they don't always, they're in different aquifers sometimes. So, we may need more monitoring wells to delineate the extent. But right now, I mean, as far as remediation goes, there aren't a lot of options. PFAS don't break down naturally in the environment. There's no, we can inject things to oxidize contaminants, but we can't do that with PFAS. It doesn't work. There's no bioremediation method. No bugs want to eat this stuff. So, there are not a lot of good options. Pump and treat is one way to go, but at these concentrations, you just be pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping and getting very little PFAS out of the ground. All of the private wells are pumping. In a way, you're kind of doing that already. And, once we've pumped 1 million gallons or so, we can show you that you've gotten maybe a teaspoon of PFAS. It's just not an efficient way to go about remediation. Soil remediation is similarly difficult. There are some landfills that are still taking PFAS soil, but you're signing yourself up for potential long-term liability down the road. When that landfill becomes a Superfund site, they're going to want to know who brought PFAS here. Oh, the town of Shutesbury did. So then they'll come knocking on your door and ask you for a check. So really what I prefer to do is to go through something, that actually destroys the PFAS, which is incineration. That also has its drawbacks. It's very, very expensive. We're talking digging the soil up, putting it on train cars and driving it out west somewhere where it's incinerated. There's lots of studies. The Department of Defense has stopped doing that because of concerns for what comes out the stack, and that potential future long-term liability as well. So there aren't a lot of good options at the moment. So I think, get the POETs in, do what we can to figure out where things are, where things aren't. Maybe it makes sense to pave the rear of the fire station to prevent precipitation from percolating through that soil anymore. We can do some additional soil analysis to look at that and just see, how much is in there that's actually leaching versus what's fixed. If it's fixed and it's not leaching to groundwater, as I said before, there's no risk from contacting it. So if it's not leaching PFAS to groundwater, then, kind of fine as is. So, I mean, we're really kind of waiting for technology to catch up here. There's a lot of very smart people working on ways to try and get rid of this stuff. Hopefully it's 3M and DuPont, the guys that put it all here. But, we're really kind of in just kind of a holding pattern, make it as safe as we possibly can, mitigate any immediate risks. But then hopefully, there's a technology that comes along in the not too distant future that will allow us to clean this up. You mentioned a water line. Yeah. I mean, if that's an option, that would cure the problem. That would take care of, if that area is not GW1 anymore, then, you're not, the groundwater standards for drinking water don't apply. So, as I mentioned, you're well below the other standard GW3. So it would really just be, mitigating the wells that are impacted. Is that something you guys have looked at or thought about before?
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about it. It was more just, thinking, and assume that would be something that would be extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah, and now you got a Shutesbury Water Department, you got trucks, you got staff, you got a treatment building, you got permits, you got
1,700 people. Yeah.
yeah, that becomes prohibitive.
So I was also curious about the PFAS kind of going up the hill. If the contamination was coming from the fire station and we had houses, up towards the center of town, and even with down on Wendell Road. Is that likely from the fire station, or could there be other sources, I guess is my question.
Well, that's where we get into, I mentioned the pie charts I showed you. Unfortunately, PFOA, PFOA, and PFOS are the two most common PFAS compounds. Historically, they've been used in everything. Everybody's septic system has some PFAS in it, just from stuff you use in your kitchen. If you do laundry, if you're laundering PFAS treated clothes, anything with Gore-Tex in it, any kind of a waterproofing spray on it, that ends up in your wash water, laundry water, ends up in your septic system. So that gets spread around by everyone. So it's difficult, if we sell, like I mentioned, the F53B, I mean, that doesn't fit this site at all. So, if we find those concentrations are actually there, those compounds are actually there, that would be an indicator that something else is going on. But everywhere that we have PFAS contamination, we have PFOS or PFOA. So it's really tough to say, this isn't ours, this isn't ours. Looking at concentration gradients, or even, if you look at that map and you see, well, there's some green properties, but then there's yellow properties. So how are the green well, if their wells are not quite as deep as the yellow properties, that could be what it is. If depending what fracture in the bedrock, the PFAS are migrating in. I have another site where we have, next door neighbors. We have one well that has like 20 and the other one has 150. And it's just because one of their wells is 100 feet deep, the other one's 200 feet deep. So they're tapped into a more contaminated fracture in the bedrock.
Hi, AJ. You need Grace to log you in.
Okay, can you mute yourself?
I will.
Okay. Eric.
So, yeah, my question, well, I have a couple questions. One would be, I think that the distillation of what you're saying is like, we're on the POET program for forever, or there's no mitigation, basically. So here we are. That's
Right.
the first, question, statement, whatever, just confirm I'm correct. And the second one is it fair to say that the town of Shutesbury is doing everything it can do to solve this problem?
Yeah, we're actively sampling to figure out who's contaminated, who's not, getting POETs installed as quickly as we can with the contractor. That's really all you can do. Obviously, we've stopped AFFF training behind the fire station. Like I said, if we, there's a procedure called SPLP. I don't know if you've heard of TCLP. That's something that they run on soil samples to determine if they're, quote, hazardous or not. But there's another one, it's called SPLP, and that kind of mimics precipitation running through the sample. So we take the soil sample, we run it by this SPLP. So we look at the total PFAS versus what's leaching. And then, if that number is below the drinking water standard, then maybe that soil is already leached out and, it's not really worth doing anything. Absent that, perhaps paving the back of the area behind the fire station. I know it's a pretty large area, but paving that area would prevent any more precipitation from percolating through that soil. That would probably be helpful as well. But, there's a lot of contamination in the groundwater already. So, this isn't going to go away in anytime quickly.
And we're doing whatever we can to make it a problem that we can live with, basically, is what you're saying, I think.
Yeah, it's something we're just going to have to manage for a while until the
right.
Until the technology catches up.
Right.
Questions? Becky, go ahead. You're on mute.
And the other thing we also are doing is we have bottled water for people in the interim before and after they get a POET installed, because until we do the final test, we are uncertain that the filter's working. So we continue to do that. People continue to get their water, and we're rotating out water systems, and we have some smaller pumps so that we can service everyone that needs them or would like to use them.
Yeah, that's a good point, something I didn't mention. There's an expense with getting these systems installed, but once they're in, I'm LSP on a site in Princeton. We've had POET systems installed since early 2020 that still don't have breakthrough. So, I mean, once you put these things in, I mean, they can last 3, 4, maybe 5 years. I don't know. We've only had one breakthrough, and that person had a really, really high water use. So that seems to be what drove their breakthrough. But, just general household use, we're 3+ years on some of these systems. So.
And how would an individual know that had happened? How would, if I had a POET in my house, how would I know it was still working or not working?
We sample. So the program that we had in Princeton that DEP let us do, we put the new system in, we sample it to make sure it's working, to make sure you get non-detect results, and then we don't sample it again for a year. So we come back after a year and sample, they had us sampling semi-annual for the next year and then quarterly until we find breakthrough. So, your water's a little bit different. We told DEP we would do it quarterly for the first year. And then based on that, I'm assuming we're going to see similar results where there's no breakthrough occurring. And, and then we can stretch it out to something much longer.
We're running a little bit behind schedule. So, Jeff, thanks so much for coming this evening.
Sure.
We will have you back at some point. But we really appreciate that, preparing that slideshow as well as answering our questions. Becky, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that Sam Evans, who's been the technician doing a lot of the testing, is on the meeting, and I just wanted to introduce him too. Okay. Sam, could you make yourself visible?
How's it going?
There he is.
Hey, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Sam,
sorry, I'm just on my phone. It wasn't working on my laptop.
Sam has gotten to know everyone's basements that has been tested by PFAS. It's quite an adventure, but he's doing a great job, and I really appreciate his help.
Great. Well,
thank you.
Thank you
to both of you, and we'll check back in again.
We'll be talking to you.
All righty.
Thanks. Take care.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is just to go through the final review of the budget, the annual town meeting warrant, and annual town meeting plans. So who's going to take the lead here? I know there are a couple of things on the warrant that we need to just review that we did the warrant review at our last meeting.
I'll bring up the warrant, draft 5.
Yeah, I don't think we have time to go step by step through this warrant since
I was going to go to the warrant that you hadn't seen. And Michael DeCara's here.
Okay.
Michael's request to do the associate planning board members. They've been working on this warrant. I'm sorry, it's taking me a while to get there. So maybe if Michael you want to turn it over to Michael for that?
Sure, I'll do it quickly given time. So somewhere earlier in the year, probably about a year ago, we asked the select board, the town meeting passed an associate member of the planning board bylaw 2 years ago, I think it was, I can't remember. So past town meeting, the AG came back and basically said, we approve it, but with caveats, you can only do, associate members only have this limited ability, and not what we had written in. So we discussed that with you all previously, and then came back about a year ago, and Donna McNichol had suggested that the only way to proceed if we wanted to get the associate member bylaw we wanted was either a home rule petition or working with the legislators to actually pass a bill. So you all were supportive of that. Jeff Lacy and I met with Joe Comerford staff, and then I was in contact with Aaron Saunders once he got elected. And they recommended a home rule petition. And in February, when I talked to Aaron at one of his open office hours at the library, he basically pointed out the process, which is town meeting approves it, it goes to the House, and then it goes to the Senate. And his recommendation was for me to send the language to him so he can share it with House Counsel. So that town meeting approved language that House Counsel had already reviewed and vetted. So we waited and didn't hear back. And last month's planning board, I sort of reported on this and then sort of did the math in terms of our town meeting and the legislative session and realized that if town meeting doesn't pass it this year, it won't be able to get passed in this legislative session since that act, their sessions ends in July. So there's no way our town meeting would pass it next June and they would pass it next July. So I wrote to him and Aaron basically suggested that town meeting pass it with the language that I had sent to him that Donna had already vetted. So that's what I sent to you probably like 2 weeks ago. I think I saw in some email that maybe from Becky that Donna had a tweak to the language. But basically,
Unfortunately, at this point, I don't have that. She was
okay.
going to do a little bit more today, but I just checked my emails. I don't have it yet.
Well, we can always just do the amendment on the floor like we've done in the past. But I think having it on the warrant would be really helpful because we basically need to get town meeting vote on this if it's going to go forward this legislative session, which ends next July. So this is all just a very long process. So thank you for slipping it in at the last minute.
Okay, questions, Eric or Melissa?
Very small point, should state senator and state representative be capitalized or not? I'm a bugger for capitalization, but I don't know if it should be.
I'll leave it to people who care more.
There you
Well,
go.
they might.
That's- all right. Yeah, they might. I'm not even sure that it should be. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't find it. Where is it in there, Michael? I mean,
The second sentence. Well, it's actually
First
state
line
senator
is
is the
the
last word in the first sentence, and state representative
see.
is yeah.
I think because it's not naming them, it's just generic. That was
yeah, but it's Shutesbury, so it is more specific
Hang on, I'll Google it. We'll
okay.
Google.
up in the air.
Hopefully
Sorry to
no
be a
one will
pain.
vote it down because of the type, because of the grammar.
So Michael,
Right. Well,
this would get filed immediately upon passage by town meeting, is that correct?
That's my understanding. I don't know quite, I don't know like if Grace sends it or the select board sends it, but somehow we sent it to Aaron and say, town meeting approved our home rule petition, and here's the language, and we'd appreciate the House voting on it. And then I believe the House votes on it sometime, probably when they get back in the fall, and then the Senate would pick it up. So this would only pertain to Shutesbury, and so the language is basically, we're asking for an exemption from the state law to do what we originally intended, meaning that associate members could do anything that any elected planning board member could do, as opposed to what the AG said, which is only work on special permits. Jeff
Donna
Lace,
sent me the article, so I'm gonna pull that up.
okay.
Becky, we don't have a lot of time, so if you could just put that up, we're running up.
To answer the question, on mass.gov, they do have it capital S and capital R and capital S and R when just talking about a state senator or a state representative without name.
So what did Donna note what she changed in this?
No. Michael, I'm gonna forward, I have it so I can put on screen, but I'm gonna forward it to you. Or should I just put on screen? I'll just,
Well, we have to vote it tonight, right?
yeah. So, okay. I'm trying to share. Let me do, there's Donna's email. Okay. Is it still there? Yeah. So Michael, can you tell, and we can see both versions here. So she added something that submit and support the following. Oh, so it's a first sentence. Oh, it adds the select board. Oh, she just put in the warrant like,
Correct. So I think it's basically when it gets approved in the select board file. So that answers your question, Rita.
Okay,
so that's this one, Donna's has the clarification that you were looking
Okay.
for.
okay.
And I think almost everything else is identical.
She added the or take any action,
Yeah,
which I always forget.
okay. So how am I doing this? So I'm going to,
Can we just
yeah, you,
vote on this and then you can do the editing after?
Yep.
So do I hear a motion to approve the new language for the associate planning board members as edited by town council Donna McNichol?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all those, any further discussion?
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, I.
Carol, aye. Okay, so the select board will take care of that. Okay, is there anything else that has changed in the warrant?
the other thing that changed was there was, in the budget, we noted, that there was a missing $5 amount, so the budget itself is changed. I'm sorry, I'm just going
You
to
say
the budget.
$5?
$5,000 change,
$5,000, okay.
and it's a reduction. It was a duplicate entry with two different subtitles that we removed. So it reduced the annual budget.
Okay,
And so this number is now 6,906,000 instead of 911,000. So it's now 6,906,641.
Okay.
And then the math related to this second number was also reduced by 5,000.
okay.
And that was the other change to the warrant.
So do we need to revote that Article 11 then?
Since yes, that would be great if you would, since you're here.
So do I hear a motion to approve the revised Article 11, reducing the town expenses by $5,000 now to $6,906,641?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, I.
Farrell, aye. I see Paul Lyons is here. Paul, is there, well, we're just talking about town meeting, anything you wanna, do you have any questions or anything you want to add?
Two quick questions. One is, when will the warrant be posted? Will it be by
Tomorrow.
this Saturday? I'm sorry,
Tomorrow.
Yes,
tomorrow.
it'll be
Okay.
posted tomorrow. Select board, are you guys able to come in tomorrow to sign it?
Yes.
What time, Grace? Would you have it ready?
I can have
What-
it ready tonight, Melissa.
Okay. Or early in the morning, like, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock would be good.
Not that early, 5, 6, 8.
I saw you at 6 this morning. It wasn't you. I was like, wow. it
Yeah,
wasn't even 6.
Up and about.
My second question is, the to-do list for next week for preparations for town meeting. Are there a number of things to do that I can plug into?
Next week is yes. On Friday, we're having a work party to set up for town meeting. So we
But-
would appreciate your help there, but are you?
That's the Friday before. I think you were asking, Paul, you were
date?
asking about next
Oh,
week.
It is
Next-
next week, isn't it?
Well, anytime between now and
Oh,
then.
it is. I'm sorry, Rita.
I
Well,
know.
the
it's
finance
only- it's a
committee,
week from
you're helping
Saturday.
on Thursday night. 2 nights from now, you're assisting and moderating the budget meeting that we need to get an announcement out about.
Right.
And so hopefully the finance committee can help us with that. I mean, hopefully they're working on that tonight and we'll get that out as soon as possible.
When is that budget meeting?
It's right at the same time as the com meeting.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll be in touch with you, Becky, I guess, about, and Grace about plans for next week. 'Cause I do want to help out if I can. So, and I've got to get over to the finance committee now, meeting now, so I will bid you adieu. See you
Okay.
next week.
All
And
right,
I'll
thanks.
send you the final documents as soon as I format it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I will say actual town meeting morning, I could probably use some help sort of lifting up speakers and not doing all that. Pretend you're setting up a rock show thing. You know,
A concert, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
We don't need a lot of people, but
Thanks,
some,
Paul.
I don't want to do it all.
We can find some.
Yeah, I think so. We'll just, that's, we always have.
All right, so we are gonna take a 5-minute break now.
Okay.
And then come back to meet in executive session. So I'm just gonna stop my video, leave everything up.
Don't forget to mute yourselves.
And don't forget to turn off your video.
Hey, Donna.
Good evening.
You ended up having a 5-minute break, so.
Sorry, I'm still chewing.
I'm Melissa.
Me too. I'm just gonna have a piece of broccoli.
Go for it. That's healthier than what I'm eating. I'm trying to sneak potato chips because it's something you can sneak.
You can't sneak them. I hear you crunching them.
Oh,
on
do
your
you? I'm
microphone.
sorry.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
just
I
a
didn't
little-
know that.
Me.
Oh, that's you?
That's
Just a little
her.
bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's her. Okay. I thought I
I
saw you.
try to do it quietly.
I don't know.
You know, like Becky said, she saw me at 6 o'clock this morning. And so the next time I've been in a place where I've been able to sit down is now.
There you go.
There's a bunny outside eating his dinner.
Yeah, I had a bunny just now. I let the dog out. We are overrun with bunnies here.
Are you? Yeah,
Mhm.
we caught a coyote and a fox on a camera, wildlife
And
camera.
it's so weird. There are no rabbits in Cooleyville. Even
No
down here.
rabbits?
This
I'll
this
bring
part of
some.
town. No, I don't need them. But we
Have
don't
you
have.
experienced vampire bunnies yet?
I was weeding the other day and I went to like grab a bunch of like what I thought was weeds, and it was a bunny's nest.
Oh,
And
no.
this little bunny came like squeezing it off.
No.
Yeah, it survived,
Oh, good.
fortunately. Anyway,
Good.
okay, so we're all back. We are,
We have, before we go into executive session, we need to ask people that are going to be in it to leave.
okay. So it looks like Amanda, you're the only one who will need to leave. Are you there, Amanda?
Hey, Becky.
Yeah,
So in case we start bouncing around a little bit, maybe you should have a co-host in case we share stuff on screen. We don't want to lose. the
yeah,
sense.
I'll make you co-host.
Doesn't, yeah, anyone, just as long as there's a second person.
Amanda, can you please log off so we can proceed with the executive session?
Go ahead and vote. And we'll just, can you just take her off?
Yeah, I'll do it. Got it.
Okay.
Who's Geneva?
That's our admin secretary.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we are going to go into executive session, and the reason for going to executive session this evening is for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's litigating position, litigation specific to the complaint received from Coles regarding the Shutesbury solar bylaw with town council. So we need a roll call, recorded roll call vote to enter into executive session, and we need a majority to approve it.
We need a
Are we-
second. too.
Are we going back to open session
And
reading?
we will go back to open session after this executive session.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry,
second-
Donna, what did you say?
We need a second.
Okay,
Second.
do I have a second? Okay.
Second.
Second,
All right.
third.
All right, all those in favor of going into executive session for reason number 3, please signify by saying aye.
Make peace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker eye.
Farrell, aye. And can you all confirm that you are in a place where nobody else is, has access to this recording, this meeting?
I
Donna
can,
Michael
I'm in
is-
the room by myself.
Confirmed.
Yep. Not even the rabbits.
Okay.
I just have one question, Rita.
Yes.
Geneva, you are taking minutes, so is it okay if I stop the recording?
Yeah, you need to stop the recording.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so the select board is back in open session and the planning board is here. We're going to go, planning board is going to go into executive session and the select board is going to go into executive session. So Deacon, do you want me to start so you know what the process is here?
Well, I wrote down earlier the language from the agenda for going into executive sessions.
Right, so you just have to go through the steps though.
Yeah,
But why don't I do it first and then.
Sure, please.
Okay, so the select board is going into executive session for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's litigating position. The litigation is specific to a complaint received from Coles regarding the Shutesbury solar bylaw with town council, and we'll have town council and planning board here. So we need to do a, so I made a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Make peace, O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. And we will be going back into open session at the end of this executive session. And I just ask that all the select board members confirm that they are in a space where nobody else has access to this meeting.
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Okay, thank you. So Deacon, take it away.
So,
Okay.
quick question, Deacon, before you do it, we originally were going to come back to open session to talk about associate member, but then in the interim, we discovered that we were not going to. So I think it's fine if we do not return to open session.
Great.
It's part of the motion.
Okay,
Do you agree, Deacon? I don't think we have any other business besides this joint conversation.
and
No,
you have no Zoom link to do it in, so.
We took care of that.
okay, so
Sorry.
I'll just, so at the end of this, I'll just add not to return to open session.
Correct.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that the planning board meet in executive session for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's litigating position. Litigation specific to complaint received from Coles regarding the Shutesbury solar bylaw with town council and select board, not to return to open session.
Absolutely.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Michael DeCara,
Aye.
Jeff Weston,
Aye.
Jeff Lacy,
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Okay, are we all set? And we have both just for everybody's
Deacon, just
information.
sorry, Rita, just Deacon, you're not going back into public session, and get each of your members to just state that they're.
Oh, I didn't, yeah, I did say not to return to open session.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so could the planning board members state that they're alone? Jeff Lacy?
I think we're alone now.
Jeff Weston?
I'm alone. No one else can hear me.
Yeah, Michael DeCara?
I'm alone and I'm not going to sing.
I'm alone and good.
Okay, great. So we just spent the last, the select board spent the last, you have a recording on. Are we recording this? Carol, aye. Okay, the select board is back in public session and we are going to go into another executive session. I just dropped my notes, so hold on. Okay,
And good night, planning board.
you're there. Good night. planning board sign off. Okay. Phew. All right, so the select board is going to go into executive session. I'm making a motion that we go into executive session for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, and if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's litigating position. And this is litigation specific to complaint received from Michael Hootstein. And I just ask that, well, I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll say second.
Okay, all those in favor, this is a roll call vote. All those in favor of going into executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker eye.
Farrell, aye. And I ask that everybody who is in attendance this evening, because we have some folks who are not on the select board, please indicate by voice that you are in a location where this meeting cannot be heard by anybody else. Donna? And I am Melissa.
Confirmed, yep.
Eric?
Confirmed.
Becky?
Confirmed.
David?
Confirmed.
Mary Ann?
Confirmed.
And Kristen?
Confirmed.
Okay, the recording will stop now.